Boxing truth here. I had to talk about Chris Eubank Jr., who relinquished his British title, so much for winning the title outright, something he stated he wanted to do, and was just two title defenses away from winning the Lonsdale belt outright. But now he's relinquished it, pulled out of the fight against Tommy Langford after failing to attend press conferences that Frank Warren kept requesting Langford's promoter, and now the fight's not going to happen. And Eubank Jr.'s team, they released the funniest fucking statement I've ever read. I mean, it's up there. I mean, it was hilarious reading the shit. If any British competitor vying for the British Middleweight title read that, it was the ultimate disrespect and slap in the face, as Eubank Jr. just shitted on the British level competition, was saying that he was head and shoulders above and levels above these guys, and that it was too dangerous for Eubank Jr. to defend his British title against these type of opponents. These domestic level fighters, that there's just too big a gap in skill, speed, strength, and power, and that it will be just too dangerous for Eubank to defend his titles against these type of opponents. But the main reason why they relinquished the title, according to the statement, is that Eubank Jr. suffered a serious injury when he was sparring against a 14-stone fighter, which means, in American terms, he was sparring a cruiserweight before the fight, and he suffered a serious injury, according to T. Eubank. Now, Frank Warren, of course, feels it's a bunch of bullshit. The guys are frauds. They're lying to the public. That Eubank Jr. never wanted to fight Tommy Langford. He never fancied the fight. And that the injury is not as serious as they claim. According to Frank Warren, he's saying that Eubank Jr. suffered a tennis elbow type injury, which is not a serious injury. And to be honest, from following social media from Eubank Jr., I mean, the guy's been chilling, traveling in Dubai, going to events. Doesn't look like he's been doing a whole lot of training ever since this fight with Tommy Langford was announced. So honestly, I think it's bullshit. I don't think he's seriously injured, and if he is, he is. But to be honest, I'm not surprised that this fight is not going to happen. From my previous Eubank Jr. videos, I advised Eubank Jr. to vacate the title because this fight makes absolutely no sense for his career. It does nothing for him. He would have been favored to beat Langford, but it was a different type of opponent compared to the guys Eubank Jr. was fighting since his close loss to Billy Joe Saunders. Langford was a different style, just presented a whole different type of style to the fight. And even though I favored Eubank in the fight, it wasn't a fight I liked for him, considering that he needed to progress his career. He needed to move on to world level competition, to world class opposition. And a part of me saying that, you know what, fuck it, he vacated the title, but only if it leads to bigger and better opportunities. That's the thing. I mean, it needs to lead to bigger and better things. He needs to move on and progress in his career. And that's what we're still waiting for in Eubank's career. I'm a Eubank fan. Like, I'm going to roll with him, but he's disappointed me so many times. I mean, the track record is not good. He's been offered opportunities before. He didn't take the fight. He vacated the W interim strap, pretty much throwing away the Danny Jacobs fight that he could have gotten. He's been offered a rematch with Billy Joe Saunders, according to Frank Warren, on more than one occasion, and he didn't sign on for the fight. He didn't sign on for the Golovkin fight. So all these fights that he's been in position and to get, all these opportunities that he's been presented with to the table. At the negotiating table, he has not taken. Ever since his first loss, he's been given all these opportunities, and none of these fights have happened. To the point where the credibility of Eubanks is in shambles. I mean, these guys just look like complete liars, that they're full of shit, and that you can't believe a word that comes out their mouths. Because you go by their actions, they're not living up to their billing. They're not living up to their expectations or their promises. They're not taking the fights that Eubank Jr. should be taking in order to get his name even at a much bigger level than it should be right now. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, these guys act like they're superstars. They're elite level fighters. He's elite, but in reality, Eubank Jr. has yet to defeat a world class opponent. Even when he fought Billy Joe Saunders at the time wasn't even world class yet. He was at the British level. There were British level guys fighting each other. And now, Eubank Jr. is still fighting at that level, while Saunders has won a world title but has done jack shit with it ever since. With Jr., he's been active, but he hasn't progressed his career, and that's the most frustrating part. And now, he's getting a lot of hate because of the statements he's been making following the Golovkin-Brook fight, saying that we don't own titles, that you fight to the death, that you fight till you can't fight anymore. Then all of a sudden, supposedly, he's pulling out with a very minor injury. How are you going to say you don't own titles and you're pulling out with a very soft injury like that, if it's true? It's just not a good look. And now, he's pulled out of this fight. It's not the end of the world. It's not the biggest thing ever. I mean, that fight wouldn't have done nothing for Eubank Jr. anyways. But to just go back on your statements, not willing to win the British belt outright, whether there's an injury or not, whether how serious it is or not. I mean, from what I see, it looks like bullshit. I mean, you follow the guy's social media, the guy doesn't look hurt I mean, when you see him, you don't look hurt. He's been out chilling, partying, traveling. Doesn't look like he's been doing all that much training or serious training for the fight ever since it was announced. And it's not really that surprising that this fight's not going to happen. That he vacated the title. And you would just hope it will lead to bigger and better things, since I pretty much want him to get rid of that belt anyways. But this could really backfire on Eubank Jr. I mean, despite all the bad press, I mean, I give this to the Eubanks. They're doing a very good job of promoting this kid. They're doing a good job in getting his name out there. People are still talking about him. People are intrigued with him. I mean, he's a British champion. He's done nothing in his career, and we're talking about this kid that much. They're doing something right. I mean, I'm an American. You're not going to see me talk about a British title holder other than Eubank Jr. You're not going to see me talk about or hear me talk about another British fighter vacating their title. Because Eubank Jr. is the only British title holder, or was, that I have any interest in talking about. And it's because this kid does a good job in promoting himself, getting his name out there, putting the type of performance that he's been putting in, looking good, looking explosive, not against the elite competition, but yet somehow his name is out there. He's getting this type of attention despite pretty much doing nothing in his career, nothing extraordinary in his career. Frank Warren put down a 300,000 pound bid for this fight. According to him, the most that's ever been paid for a British Middleweight championship. Eubank would have gotten a very solid purse considering it was only for a British title. So that right there speaks volumes. But the fight's not going to happen. And you would just hope this doesn't backfire on Eubank Jr. and his teams to future endeavors, on whether other promoters are willing to work with them, since they're unpredictable. They're extremely difficult to work with, and they talk all this shit and nothing happens. None of the big fights get made. So I don't know what this means. Does this mean this Eubank Jr. is done for the rest of the year? Will he get another fight this year? I was hoping he would fight at least one more time, get 3 fights in 1 year. And if not, man, just gotta hope that 2017 will finally be the breakout year for Eubank Jr. But with all the bullshit that's happened, the failed negotiations, not signing for fights, not taking fights, vacating interim belts to put him into position for the type of fights that the fans want to see him in. Just one too many fuck-ups, or fights just not happening. And now it's just really hard to see Eubank Jr. getting that big fight if he's not his own man, and if he's not gonna tell his father to fall back, and if he's not gonna take these fights, then he's just putting himself in a position to where the bigger fights out there is gonna be far out of reach because of the negotiations, the tactics, to where people just not gonna want to work for him. While he's getting the attention, he's getting the hate, he's getting the press, the attention, he needs to get these fights, because it's getting to the point where people have lost all the respect for him, especially with the statements he's been making. And now that funny ass statement of why one of the reasons why he vacated the British title. Funny shit though. I mean, it was hilarious reading it, but ultimate disrespect to the British competitors out there vying for that British title. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.